Hey everybody, welcome back to Career Crash Course. I'm Erica Starke-Knight and here to share you another what you need to know conversation if you're considering a career in the media industry. As you know by now, I've been in the business for about 30 years, so I decided to invite some of my friends who are at the top of their game to have some real talk conversations about their profession. Today's topic, acting, and my special guest is Mr. Dulé Hill. Hello, Dulé.
All right.
How you doing?
What's happening, Erica? How was everything?
Oh, everything is great. I'm so happy that we are here together, considering the world, doing our thing. Thank you for taking time to join us.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Glad we're able to work it out.
Yes. Well, let's jump right in. You are an Emmy-nominated actor. You've worked in film, you've worked in television, you've worked on Broadway, which is where we met many, many years ago.
Right. We don't have to count the years. So we don't have to count the years.
We don't have to count the years. It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at.
You see what I'm saying?
So how did you, or when I should say, did you decide that you wanted to pursue a career in acting? And then how did you go about doing that in terms of school and what courses you decided to take and what major?
I mean, for me, I started acting from the age of 10 years old. My first show was a show called The Tap Dance Kid, where I understudied Savion Glover on Broadway. And then I did the lead role on the national tour for a year with Harold Nicholas from the Nicholas Brothers. Wow. And when I came back, I just did it as a hobby throughout my teen years. It was something that my parents sewed into. They allowed me to do whenever I felt like doing it. It felt like I booked a job and everything like that. And when I was in my junior year of college, because I went off to Seton Hall University as a business finance major.
Really?
Yes, I was a business finance major at Seton Hall University. I planned to go off and go on to law school and be a corporate lawyer.
As long as I've known you, I did not know that.
See what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? There's always something new. And then like during my junior year, sophomore to junior year, really started in my sophomore year. I ended up booking Noise Funk. We were doing off-Broadway production. And
now, for those folks watching us who don't know Noise Funk, because we're talking to college students here, tell them the whole name of the show, what it's about.
Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk. Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk, which was another tap show created by Savion Glover and George Wolfe. And we were off-Broadway at the Public Theater, and we didn't have any understudies. So we had one class that I was taking that was on a Wednesday. We had a matinee that day. So I went to the teacher and I said, I'm doing the show off Broadway, Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk. He was like, what? Bring the what? So, Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk. We don't have any understudies. I can't miss it, but your midterm is at the same time as the show. So is there any way I could take the test earlier? And he said, no. I said, but sir, if I don't take it, he only had 2 tests a year, midterm and the final. I said, if I don't take the test, I'm going to fail. Like, there's no way that I can, even if I got 100 on the final, I still will fail. He said, the least I can do, I'm kind of condensing the story, but he said, the least I can do is give you an incomplete. He said, you have to decide whether you want to get a college degree or whether you want to be in show business.
Wow.
Which, yeah, I thought it was I didn't really appreciate the response, but you're out of bad cometh good. During that time, it really started to make me ask myself, well, what is it that I really want to do with my life? Do I want to go off and do the whole corporate law thing, or do I want to really grab the arts by the horns and make it my career? Because before that, it was a hobby. And it was during that time that I eventually decided to drop out of Seton Hall University during my junior year. I said when Noise Funk went to Broadway, I left Seton Hall, but I enrolled in acting class in New York. And I studied with William Esper Studios in New York. So I'm not always a big believer in you have to get a college degree, but I do believe you should always get an education.
Yes.
Which is very important. For myself, once I made up my mind that I wanted to pursue the arts as a career, I made sure that I started to get the tools so that I got the education so that I had the tools to succeed along the way. And I studied with William Esper in New York for 2 years while I was doing Bringing Noise on Broadway. And then
rest is history.
One thing led to another. Eventually, I left Noise Funk while it was still running on Broadway to come out to LA. And that's a very interesting story too, which I'm going to digress real quick. I know.
Please tell us the story, because we're talking about how you get into acting. It's not, sometimes it's happenstance, right?
You see, I was brought out to LA I booked a show called Smart Guy to do a guest spot. And by that point, I was leaving the Broadway show fairly often to do other work. And George Wolfe had said to me, he said, I think, again, I was at another crossroads. He said, you're leaving the show so much, it's starting to disrupt the fluidity of the ensemble and how the show's coming across. So you kind of need to make up your mind now whether you want to go on or stay and be a part of the company. And he said, really and truly, Dulé, the show's been on Broadway for, a year and a half, 2 years. It's probably not going, maybe it might run for another year, but we've done all the awards. We've done all like the splash of Broadway. Now it's just going to run. If it was me, I would go in.
Sound advice.
And I appreciated that. So I ended up leaving Noise Funk, went to LA, did Smart Guy, stayed out there for a year. And then, for a few months. And then didn't really book anything. But in the summer, Noise Funk Bringing Noise hadn't recast my role yet. So they asked me to come back and do a summer run. I said, okay, I'm down to come back. My money was getting low because I stayed in a hotel way too long before I actually moved to an apartment. So the money I saved was dwindling fast. And I came back for the summer run. But what I did is I made sure, something inside me said, make sure you put an end date on the run, because once you're having a check come in, it's very easy to just get comfortable and stay there. Sure. So I said, I want to leave on August 9th. That's my final performance. I'll come back for 3 months, but August 9th, because I didn't want to get into that comfortable place of just doing the show and doing that. Right. I wanted to keep pursuing my goal. So I went back to New York, did the summer run. Leading up to the weekend of my final performance, I remember people kept asking me, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to LA. I'm going to go to LA and just try to make it happen. I said, do you have a job set up? No, I don't. I'm just going to go out there and try to make it happen.
Got faith. I'm on faith.
I'm leaving. Sunday's my final performance. I'm going to LA. I'm taking a few weeks and then go to LA. The morning of my final performance, Miramax called and told me that I booked She's All That. And I had to be on a plane on Monday to be on set Tuesday.
Wow.
It was very interesting because if I did not listen to my spirit and put that final time, there's no way that I would have been able to be on set by that Tuesday to be a part of that production. And of course, that production brought me back to LA right when I was planning to go back to LA. And then that production also allowed me to book a show called The West Wing, because I started having more experience, and I was in LA at the time. So, one thing led to another. But I think it's important to always follow your spirit, follow that sometimes, even though it doesn't line up with what everyone else thinks for your journey, for you to stay committed to your path. Because even when I left school, people kept telling me, you're on your junior year, you're only a year and a half out. Just get your degree, then go do that, which is very sound advice. But something inside me said, go for it. Now is the time, go for it. Even when I was in Noise Funk, you're going to leave making good money. You're going to leave this Broadway show to go, and why don't you just rise it out some more? Something said, no, it's time to go. And thankfully I did follow that path, and I guess the rest has been history. Now, mind you, when I did get to after She's All That, I didn't work for a year in LA. After I booked She's All That and I filmed it, I didn't work for a year.
But you stayed the course.
Afterward, stayed the course. And near the end, I remember I had about 2 or 3 months left of money left. And I was over with my friend, Freddie Prinze Jr., because we had done She's All That together. I was over his house playing video games. And I said, Freddie, if I don't get a job soon, I'm either going back to New Jersey or I'm coming to stay with you, because I do not have any more money. And a few weeks later, I booked The West Wing.
Wow.
And it's been off to the races ever since.
Emmy award-winning show. I mean, West Wing, Charlie, that is, when I tell people you're my friend, those two things come up. Charlie from The West Wing or Gus from Psych? Got fans all over, but I love that. So you stayed the course, you had faith, and you didn't just, you still studied your craft. So you just stay focused and keep your eyes on the prize. I love that, because you're going to have ups and downs, right?
You're going to have ups and downs. You have to, there was a time between She's All That and The West Wing where maybe like about a month or so before I had that conversation with Freddie, my agent was getting ready to drop me because I hadn't booked in quite a while. And I remember sitting on the floor of my apartment in Studio City on Bluffside Drive. I didn't have a couch because I hadn't spent that money to get a couch, but I sat there on the floor, and actually my agent had dropped me because was getting ready to drop me because I hadn't booked enough, or booked really at all in the last year. And I said, well, I'm not really getting the right material. He said, you got to figure it out, because my agent didn't want to drop me, but the agency was like, we're cutting the fat, and Dulé is a part of the fat. I remember sitting there on my floor, and tears started to come down my eyes. And I said to myself, I said, Dulé, either you are going to be a successful actor or you're going to spend the rest of your life trying. And there was no one there. It was just me and myself, God, saying, okay, I'm going to be committed to my journey, to my process. I have no control over whether I'm going to be a success or not, but I do have control over my commitment to my dream. So I said, Dulé, you're either going to be a successful actor or you're going to spend the rest of your life trying. And I feel that was a little pivotal point for me in starting to now get the breakthrough because I was committed to going along the journey.
I love it. Golden nuggets of wisdom. All right, let's get through these questions because we can talk for the next 45 minutes.
See what I'm saying?
What would you say is the most common misconception in your industry as an actor?
I think the most common misconception is that it's all glamorous. I mean, it's wonderful when you get on a TV show or you get on a film and you have a nice splashy role and the checks start coming in. But a lot of times, there's a lot of lean times. There's a lot of silent times where you're just not booking, where jobs aren't coming in, but the bills are still happening. You still have to figure it out. And even once you get in the industry and you do get a job, the process is tedious. It's not all glamour. A lot of times it's a lot of hours on set, doing it over again. Now moving the camera, doing it again. Or if you're doing stage, rehearsing some more. It's not as glamorous as it appears to be. It is more of a grind on that side of things. And it's also unstable foundationally. For example, I'm in Atlanta right now because my wife, Jasmine Simon, is filming her TV show out here. We live in LA, but we've all had to move out here so that we can still try to be together. At the same time, our daughter, 16, is going into her senior year of high school. So now she's back and forth. She's back there in LA. It's just a lot of, the stability of life can be challenging. When Levi was born, I was in Toronto doing Suits. So I had to-
Your new son.
My new son, right. But I was flying back and forth. I would go to work for 3 days, hop on a plane, come home for 2 days, hop back on a plane. And it's great to have the job, great to be on the show, great to get that check. But you're also spending a lot of time away from the family. I always say that show business is like a traveling circus.
Yeah.
I was just in Vancouver 2 weeks ago, filming a movie for 6 weeks, having to be away from my family for 6 weeks, especially now in this COVID time. So it's not always as glamorous as it seems. It's great when you turn on the screen, it's like, oh, they're in this film, but it's a lot of sacrifice that goes along the way.
That's what I was about to say. That's two big nuggets: commitment and sacrifice.
Martin Sheen used to always tell me it has to cost you something. Anything of value in life has to cost you something. And that always stuck with me. And as life is going on, I'm realizing it. Because yes, I do have the dream of building out a career and even having my career grow and do projects that entertain people and can affect people in different ways. But the cost is you're not always able to just put your feet up on your couch and be with your family all the time. The cost is you might be in Vancouver, your wife and son might be in Georgia, your daughter might be in Los Angeles, and you all still have to stay connected and through that time and be there for each other through that time.
Yeah.
So it's
the kind of person to do that, that's.
Yeah, and then to be able to still have some semblance of normalcy and some connection to family,
I'm sorry, Dulé. So what do you do? Because to your point, you've been on some really successful shows. You were on West Wing, like you said, you were on Psych for 9 seasons, which is
8
tremendous.
Seasons.
How many?
8 seasons.
8 seasons.
2 movies.
2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
You were on Suits. You were on Ballers. You've done film. Every now and then you go do a Broadway show. But to your point, there's still lean time. So is there ever a point where you feel like I'm a successful actor, but then it's lean? What do you do in the lean times? If you don't have a family to be home and take care of, what do you do?
Well, I mean, in terms of financially lean, you have to make sure that you are saving up in the feast to be able to survive the famine. Oftentimes, I'll never forget years ago, Jaleel White, who's a good friend of mine, when I first got to LA, he was like, these cats, man, they get out here and they get on a TV show and they feel like all of a sudden they're, Chris Tucker, because at that time when I came out there, like Chris Tucker was really doing it. They're like, are they just trying to spend money like it's never going to end? But he said, if you make $100,000 a year, let's just use that as a number. If you make $100,000 a year doing a TV show, and it runs for 5 seasons, your average income is $100,000 a year. But if you don't book another TV show for another 5 years, your average salary has now become $250,000 a year over 10 years. So you can't sit there spending $100,000 a year like it's never going to end, because shows only run 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. If you're blessed, then maybe 7 or 8 years. And that's it. So you have to be able to make sure you put away during the times of the feast to make it through the famine. So from that side, that's what you have to do. From a personal side, you have to, for me, I just have really just sought out real connections and real relationships wherever I go. Well, in terms of my wife and my kids, and that's the highest priority. So I focus making sure that we're always good, even though we're far. But anywhere I am, I try to find grounded relationships that I can just feed my soul really while I'm moving around. That you can always have your feet on the ground somewhere, because this industry especially can really get you off in the clouds thinking you're living on planet Mars.
Oh yeah.
How you approach and view the world.
Oh yeah. So now let me ask you, that's good sound advice. When it is famine, you have the choice, as you mentioned earlier, to choose your roles, right? So do you, and I heard a soundbite from Chadwick Boseman. He had done an interview talking about how he started out in soap operas, and he just was not feeling the character because it was perpetuating the stereotype of a Black man. Father wasn't around. I don't know if there were drugs involved, but he just didn't want to do that.
Right.
But he was on a big show and he decided to walk away. So in your experience personally, you know, can you speak to how, if you've had to do that before or thought about doing it, do you let roles pass by, even if you are in the famine stage, and hold out for those roles that are meaningful? Or do you take it and just say, it's just a job, I'm just acting, and I'm going to do this until I get the role that I really want?
Thankfully for me, I've not had to take roles that I didn't want to do. Excellent. Because of, and I think a part of it has to do with being, at least being reasonably well with my money. I can't say I've been great with my money, but I've been reasonably well, where it's like, okay, you know what? I can navigate the down times without having to just go and do anything. But I think, but from a creative standpoint too, I also, like when jobs come my way, that when even meetings come my way for projects that I know I would not want to do, I don't even get close to it. It's like, let's just not even take that meeting. Let's not even have the offer, even give the chance for the offer to come my way. I mean, there have been some jobs that have come my way and I'm just like, no, that's not me. I'm not trying to do that. And that's that. But thankfully, in my adult life, my famine has not been so severe where it's been like, I got to just do a job.
Yes. Excellent.
But a part of that is the preparation when things are good, to be able to say, okay, I can ride this out. I don't need to go and do that. And me personally, I don't knock anybody for doing any role. It's like, you know, life is hard. Life is hard. The bills don't stop. Right. You know, it's like you got to handle your business one way or the other. So if you want to have to go do that, then go do it, because we don't always have that luxury, depending on what your responsibilities are. It's a lot easier if you are a single person, no wife, no kids, no spouse. It's a lot easier. Have some roommates. It's a lot easier to not take a job than when you have mouths you have to feed. Correct. So I don't knock anybody for the roles that they do, for the roles that they agree to do or don't agree to do. I think each person's journey has to be their own. Yeah. But as long as you can make peace with the choices that you make, then I'm like, run your race. For myself, I'm thankful that I've not had to take any roles that I've not really wanted to do. I mean, there's some that have not been the most creatively fulfilling, but from an image standpoint, it's not, there've been roles that I'm so proud that I've been a part of. Yeah,
that's a blessing. And that's a good segue into my next question. For someone who's interested in pursuing a role in acting, and say they get a gig or 2 or 3 and find themselves being typecast, but they want to work. Are there tips, things that you can do to try to get creative in the roles that you're hired for, or is that not even a thing in acting? You just get whatever's presented to you.
I think it's always good to try to create your own material. if you're seeing, if there's roles that you desire to do that you're not being allowed to do, try to create your own material, whether it's writing it, whether it's producing it, whether it's connecting with other creatives and getting it done and then having yourself in that role. Or you look for something that's not so mainstream, like you go and do an independent, you go and do a low budget film, because most times if you're doing a studio film, they're going to go to certain people for certain roles, and even on television, the possible roles that you'd be considered for, they kind of have it in their head of this is what Dulé does. That's not Dulé. Yeah. But if you want to play a role that's outside of that, think about an independent, think about a low budget film, think about a play, think about hitting the stage. Most of the, I guess, fiery characters that I've been able to play have either been on the stage or low budget.
Name some of those characters, D.
Clay Williams in Dutchman was one of the, I just loved that was a chance for me really just to go and let it all out on the stage. I would never have that chance, at least at that point in my life, I would never have the chance to do that kind of thing on television or film. Even recently, even in Lights Out, Nat King Cole, where I got a chance to play Nat King Cole, the story that was being told through that piece, it allowed me to express a side of myself that I don't often get the chance to on screen. I'm blanking on the character's name now, but in the movie Slight that I played, Angelo was the name of the character. He was a gangster. What? I would never. It's a movie Slight that my man J.D. Dillard directed. I would never get the opportunity to play like a menacing gangster in a bigger budget film, even in the bigger budget television piece. It's just not going to happen. At least at that point, it wouldn't have happened. But it was an interesting script. I thought the director had a brilliant mind and was really going to be someone who was a force as time went on. And I thought me and him connected on it. And I said, yeah, let's go and play around. It wasn't a big paying job at all. So not everything is about, I need to go and get that big check.
Yes.
This was, I'm trying to grow as the artist. I'm trying to grow creatively. I'm trying to keep expanding the breadth of the work that I do. So let me go and do this. So I think that's different ways you can try to chip away at that, but it's not easy. It's definitely not something that I can say, oh, do this, do that. And it's easy. It's 1, 2, 3.
But to your point, it's forming those relationships.
It's forming relationships. And even as I think about it, for example, and that's like a little more extreme, but when I finished The West Wing, I had said to my team, I said, I really don't want to do another office drama right now, like where I'm in a suit, because I knew that if I did another one, they were going to put me in that same type of Charlie Young role. But I just did Charlie Young with Aaron Sorkin and Martin Sheen and Allison Janney. Anything I did to me was going to be a step down in that arena. And
you had that insight so early?
I have to admit, I did have that inside me. I said, I want to do something different. I said, I want to do a comedy and I want to do more of a leading role, because to me it could just be something different. If I'm doing a comedy, it won't be connected to Charlie at all. And then Psych came along. And at the time, Psych was on USA Network, which was a basic cable network. And it wasn't as big as USA is now. We kind of grew along with the network at the same time. But that was kind of one of those things. We went from being on NBC to, let's go over here to USA, get a chance to play this role, and maybe lightning will strike in a bottle and we'll get a chance to run, which thankfully we did. And then when
that was all over Prime, Amazon Prime.
You know what I mean?
That's where I saw Suits for the first time.
But then, but then after Psych, I wanted to go and now I want to go back and do a role that I was a little more of a man, really. That was the next thing for me. It's like, I know Charlie was a young dude, and Psych was Gus, and he was a boy man, but let's go and try to do something where I can be more of show that side of myself now. I did a show called Doubt, which didn't last. It was a CBS drama. And then right after that, I did Suits, which allowed me to kind of step into that space more. And even Ballers too was a character that made no apologies for himself. Yeah. So I mean, you're always trying to keep thinking about, how do I keep evolving? When I did Stick Fly, which is a show on Broadway that Kenny Leon directed, I remember during that run, I called my agents and said, I don't want to play any more earnest characters. I've done that. it's cool. I know how to do it, but I'm kind of getting, it's not, I feel like I need to now start trying to get beyond just the guy who is wearing his heart all out in the open like that.
But you do that so well. That's who you really are.
so, you know, but it's, you're always trying to keep thinking, okay, how do I keep, because pigeonholing is a real thing, but how do I keep staying creative? How do I keep expanding? How do I keep growing as an artist to tell stories that are more dynamic? You have to keep just trying to evolve over time, I guess. That's what I try to do anyway.
I love it. All right, I got a rapid fire because we got just maybe 5 more minutes. So what would you, and I think you may have mentioned this already, for someone who's interested in pursuing a career as an actor, how would you suggest you get started on sharpening those skills? And you mentioned being in a play, you know, creating your own content. What kind of tips would you give for students who are watching this?
I think for students who want to sharpen the skills as an actor, I say actors act, singers sing, dancers dance. You know, art is not something that can just be held in your pocket until it's time to do it. You have to keep working it. It's like a muscle. You have to keep working it. Get together with other actors and just do scenes. Myself, before I booked The West Wing, I would get together with some friends in LA and we would take 2 scenes, just maybe 2 of us or 3 of us in a room.
Scenes that you would make up or that you get from a show?
That we had maybe auditioned for, or someone had auditioned for from a show somewhere. We would just bring scenes and work out. Like, okay, you take that role, I take this role, you take that role. Let's make some choices. Let's come into the room. Let's see what happens. Okay, now let's make a different choice and see what happens. Okay, now let me take your role, you take my role, and you take the other role. Let's see what happens. And just keep, because it teaches you to stay open. It teaches you to how to let your creative mind expand, to say, I can look at material and then now approach it from different angles. And that's one thing that I would always do. I would say, you know, like getting together with people as much as you can to just work the muscles. That is what actors should always do. If you want to get better at your craft, work it. Theater, I think the stage is great. The reason why I think the stage is great is because you have to do it every time. You can do a great performance on Tuesday, but no one on Wednesday matinee cares what you did Tuesday night. You have to be like, okay, let's do it again. And after you've done it for 2 months, 3 months, maybe even 6 months, you're like, and in your mind, you're just, I'm tired of saying these words. You start finding a way to keep leaning in and finding something new. I would say getting together with friends. I would say getting on a stage. I would say getting into acting class. It's always good to have a place to work out. And then just keep working. I mean, working, yes, obviously when you get a job, but also when people you know are doing a short film or something, let's do it. Because the more you work, the more you're gonna learn about it. It's like any art is a muscle. You have to keep doing it. Writers write, singers sing, dancers dance, and actors act.
Yes, that's a good point. You said the more you learn. So what are some of your, and this is not industry standard, as an actor you must, but in Dulé's mind, what are some must reads, must watch, or must follows?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
Your films and shows, obviously.
I'm a big fan of Bill Esper, or William Esper, who was my acting teacher. I think reading his book can be very informative about how to approach the craft of acting, because it's like any art form, you have to have the tools. And I think it's important to get those tools in your pocket. And then once you have your toolbox, so you have your tool bag, you can at that point decide, how do I want to approach, which tool do I want to use for this piece of material? So I think his book really is very informative. In terms of work, I mean, oh my gosh, I mean, we were just talking about Chadwick, what he did in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is just—
Oh, Chadwick Boseman, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal work, and I'm so, you know, saddened and sorrowful that he has left this earth so early, because his gift, I think his light was going to continue to, it will shine anyway, but he had so much more, I feel, too, that he could have blessed this world with. But I mean, there's so much work out there, and it's all from your point of view.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say The West Wing, not because I'm on it, because I think there's just really some really wonderful performances on there. Bryan Cranston, anything that Bryan Cranston is in, he's just great on stage and on film. He really just a phenomenal artist. I'm not the best at answering.
No, that's good. That's all we needed. Just a couple.
Okay.
I love to hear successful artists or not successful. I love to hear your inspiration. So
Yeah,
what?
I mean, Cranston is one I'm a big fan of Cranston because he's just so dynamic in what he does, the range of the material he does. And I've seen him both on television, in film, and on stage. In every place, he just knocks it out the park. I love folks who start having a stamp of approval. Like Cranston is one of those people to me. Denzel is one of those people to me, where you know it's going to be good.
Yes.
Like, oh no, they're in it, it's gonna be good. It's
Yeah.
I'm not going to be mad that I spent my money to come and see this.
That's
or
right.
I spent an hour, sit down and watch this.
What do you know now that you wish you would have known when you were starting out in your career? And I don't even mean as a 10-year-old, obviously, because you started really young, but as an adult.
Like, I didn't realize the life of a show and things like that, but really, for example, like with television or even on stage and this and that, it's when it first comes out. That's when it's the time to strike. Waiting till season 6, season 5. Yes, they might still talk about the show, but it's a job at that point, from at least my point of view, from like how the industry looks at things. When it first comes out is when it's like, who is this guy? Who are these people? That would have been the time for me really to say, okay, let's go for it. Now, mind you, I was just happy to have a job. I was thankful to be able to pay my rent. So I was taking it all in, but I probably could have tried to run with that a little further at the time.
That's good sound.
Yeah, probably I guess and I do it. Like, I know I do it, but I probably could have done it even more so, of striking while the iron is hot. Because those really hot times don't come around that often in your career, where it's like, this is what everyone is talking about. And West Wing was that time, especially early on. It was the West Wing and it was Sopranos.
Yes.
Those that everyone was talking about at that time.
That's right. Cult classics.
Yeah, which I didn't really know at the time, but in hindsight, it's like, no, that was the one. I'll never forget. Which, I mean, like Rob Lowe, he knew, because he'd been in the game for so long. We were at the SAG Awards, and there was a little gifting suite in the back.
What's a gifting suite? They leave gifts for the actors?
Yeah, it's like, well, different designers, different brands, they want to meet the different actors and this and that, and they'll gift them, yeah, take this bracelet, wear this, wear this watch.
That's a nice perk.
It is a nice perk, it is a nice perk, I will say. And I remember there was a gifting suite there, and I was like, oh man, I want to go in there. I said, but my name's not on the list. I wasn't invited to that. And we won a SAG award that year. And Rob was like, you got one of these, man. Come on, you got one of these. And he just walked right in. And I was like, okay.
I have one.
But there's a certain, but he knew more about this is the time where you'll be straight. When we first premiered on the West Wing, I remember the ratings came out. It may have been like 17 million viewers or something like that. I didn't really know what that meant. And I asked Brad Whitford, because everyone was talking about the ratings. And I was like, what does that even mean? Like, okay, what does that even mean? He said, it means you're going to be employed for a very long time.
Nice.
But just that point of view to know, like, this is the time to take this in. I didn't really know. But that's something I would tell go back as my younger self and say, brother, you're on a ride right now. So try to really take this in and run with this. Try even harder to break into film at that point, because you're in these first couple seasons of the show. Maximize it to the fullest.
Fantastic. That's a great note to end on. Stay committed, be prepared for sacrifice, be patient. Don't give up.
Yeah, and I always say, dare to dream, because dreams do come true. And I have to believe in myself, because if nobody else believes in myself, if I don't believe in myself, nobody else will. You're going to get so many no's in this business. So many no's. I mean, you have to know that you have something to offer. You have to know that there's a gift inside of you. You have to know that I'm supposed to be right here doing this, and I'm going to make space for myself. My gift will make room for me in this area, because there's going to be no's left and right. No, 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 no. you go through all the no's to get to the yes. Because once you get to that yes, then really things start to open up for you.
Thank you for stopping by Career Crash Course. All the best to you and your
My
family.
pleasure. Much love to you. Much love to the family. Look forward to when we catch up again soon.
We will. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for Career Crash Course Acting. Take care. Until the next time, be well.
Right now. Later.
Later.